Welcome to the podcast From Cold to Close. My name is Saeed and I'm the founder here at SRC Growth, a company that works with management consulting and boutique consulting firms from around the world to help them increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. My guest today is Sean Taylor, the founder and CEO of two companies, Up to Par Management and Taylor Hospitality, and has more than 20 years of experience in hotel and hospitality operations. With more than 500 team members and clients like the Hilton, Sean is an entrepreneur and a consultant who knows what he's talking about. Sean, welcome to the pod. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Say. This is fantastic. Look forward to a lively conversation.
Yes, I am too. I'm really looking forward to this one. Sean, first of all, I really just wanted to get started for our audience and those who are watching and listening to us today. Could you share give a brief background? Hopefully it hasn't been butchered the way I've given the background.
It's all good.
Bit of a background on your journey and where you are today and how you got.
Yeah, it's been, I will say it's been fun, lively, entertaining, gut-wrenching, kicked in the face. You name it, I've probably experienced it. But really growing up, I grew up kind of up in the Northeast there in the New Jersey area, and played golf well enough to where I got recruited to play in college, and moved south. And then once I had some southern cooking, that was all that I needed, and I stayed down in the south for quite a long time. Haven't moved back. Our company is based here in Virginia, and so I actually started my professional career playing golf. So I played professionally for several years, got out of that debt free, and then started building golf courses with some great architects, some renowned architects. I was, freshly out of college, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I really wanted to do, frankly. Then really got into running golf courses and hospitality venues, and really kind of found my niche, found my way, like a lot of young men that are out there trying to find their purpose in life, of why you're on this big globe going around the sun for. So, for quite a long time, I ran facilities, ran golf courses, worked at the Duke University Golf Club for years, running their operations, and then ultimately a couple of resorts. To nine, I worked with some fabulous people, great leaders within the industry. In 2009, I always wanted to start our own firm. And that's nothing better than at the height of the financial crisis. Banks are closing left and right. Let's start a company.
Yeah.
So I jumped off the cliff,
Oh, wow.
put my life savings in the center of the table, and I bet on myself, and really started our firm, bootstrapped it straight out of, started my office was in our basement of our house.
Wow.
And then I started hiring people, and literally it took me 4 years for eventually that the business would be able to pay myself.
Wow.
Entrepreneurship and starting businesses are, I will say, not for the faint of heart. That are out there. And so, we made great decisions, we made lousy decisions. There's times we fell flat on our face, times that some of our decisions really came back to haunt us and really hurt. But you look at it as like, that is X amount of dollars, life lesson that you'll never make again. That's there. So that's where we are. We literally started in the sales space, sales and marketing, and we did, sales and marketing for clubs and for hotels and hospitality venues, PGA Tour players, products, and things like that. And then I will say probably didn't take us very, very long to pivot into the management side of things. And really, when we pivoted, that's when it was a really effective move for us. I mean, in the sales and marketing side of things, we had a golf TV show that was up and down. I think we had, 90 million viewers on our golf TV show.
Wow.
So, but really, I think the management side of things were calling us. And that's when we pivoted, and we started off with a couple of properties, and right now across our portfolio, we have close to 20 properties. And just north of, we just ran payroll this past week, and we're in our downtime because it's winter time. We have roughly 600 members across the portfolio that's there that relies on us to do a great job, and so everybody could have a great Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's kind of gives you maybe the 30-second tour of how we got started to a certain degree. So
I absolutely loved hearing that. And I think one of my favorite things about hearing these journeys of entrepreneurs is it always starts off with a difficult 4 years that you had to grind before you could even pay yourself. And how often, I guess the glamour of entrepreneurship and running a business is out there now. You see it everywhere. When people rarely talk about and understand the difficulties that actually arise. How many people can go 4 years without paying themselves, right? How many people in today's day are willing to do that? And that's the thing. And it requires a level of grit, determination, and and where you are now is a testament to where you started from. So it's always great to hear that, and I love hearing that. It's one of my favorite things about being able to speak with entrepreneurs like yourself on this podcast is the fact that you're
absolutely.
able to
You want to put a strain on a marriage, go ahead and start a business.
my wife knows that very well for sure. um, yeah, so in terms of yourself, Sean, you have two organizations. You have Up to Par Management, and then you have Taylor Hospitality. One being specifically focused on golf clubs and the management of those clubs, and then the other being hospitality restaurants in that industry itself. What made you separate those two entities and going into those two kind of directions? And I know that you touched on the fact that you previously had you got your stripes doing the golf side of things. So what made you veer into those two specialties?
So great question there. Really, they run in parallel universes to a certain degree. There's definitely core competencies in each area. I came up through kind of the golf space, playing, building golf courses, running facilities, and then that led itself into running facilities that actually had the lodging, the hotels, the food and beverage, all of that was there. So the competency from at least from my standpoint, my background was more of an umbrella over both sides. Literally, we started in the sales side, but we really tried to focus our efforts on golf and what was happening in the golf space. And as I joked, in 2008 when the financial crisis hit, companies needed help in sales and marketing because everybody was being laid off. And then the second thing is they needed help in the operations because a lot of the clubs were really in a decline, almost kind of in a nosedive to insolvency. And so companies like us would step in and help right size the organization, right size the property, at least get it to be profitable. I can't tell you how many clubs that we've saved over the course of our company's history from not going into bankruptcy because were kind of known for just fixing clubs. And in fact, I can remember one of our early slogans was "We fix clubs," and we did. We would come in, we'd make the adjustments. Some of those adjustments were painful
Yeah.
that were there, but we wound up making our clients and our properties really very successful with that. And then quickly, as we were doing that, it made it natural to take over maybe if a facility had a lodging component. And that's when we really decided, there's only 15,000 clubs in America. So that pie is relatively tiny as far as total market, and they always say that the riches are in the niches that are there. And so, but of those 15,000, how many of them want to outsource their management? And that becomes very, very small. Now, on the hotel side of things, there is I will say a much larger pool of prospects that are out there that need professional management because usually they're looking at the hotel as just an asset.
Yeah.
And so they need professional management to run that particular asset. And generally speaking, the lenders, the financiers, the equity people, the debt people are always looking for who's going to run your asset, what professional management are you going to run. Just because you know private equity doesn't mean that you know how to service a guest and so for us there was a lot of opportunity that was in that space. And so that's why we created the two companies. One was on the Up to Par side, one is on the Taylor Hospitality side. And I will say, if anything, the hospitality side, we're in a hockey stick moment right now where we're growing exponential growth right now, and because there's so much more opportunity on the hospitality side.
Hmm.
But if you go backwards, when in 2020, which nobody wants to go back and remember those years, golf really got us through COVID. So that's why, we still run in this, it's almost like an annuity. The golf clubs are like an annuity because they just kind of chug along. They don't make a lot of money. They don't lose, they can lose a lot of money. However, the golf courses were still open during the COVID time frame, where our crazy governor that we had
Hmm.
and other crazy governors and on this side of the pond just shut down everything. And they shut down our hotels, they shut down our restaurants. So really the golf side, if anything, really kind of got us through that crunch time period. And that's why, if you look at us, we're kind of to a certain degree, a diversified company
Hmm.
that for us helps us on the risk standpoint. While we're spread a little bit kind of wider and thinner, we really have, I will say, we probably have less risk in each of the areas if we were all in on one area or not.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really interesting point, and it actually aligns with a lot of the things that we tell our clients. And whenever we partner up with clients, and before we go in, we always speak about total addressable market, TAM. How big is your total addressable market? And just right there, you mentioned that when you were with the golf clubs, you've got a very restricted TAM when it comes to those who are actually looking to outsource. And then when you go into that extra diversified area with hospitality and restaurants and hotel, it's a great idea in understanding that the market. It reminds me of how private equity would take over a company and then bring their CEOs in or things like that.
Right, right,
It's a very similar thing as
right.
you coming in, and they have the asset. They need someone to run that asset to make the return on investment. So
Absolutely.
it makes a lot of sense from that end. This is really interesting to hear. I guess the next question I have for you then is, what are the biggest current trends in the market that you are seeing at the moment in terms of
I will say that, and they're two different, in both spaces. On the hotel side of things, what we're seeing is, I guess, in just straight like operations. We're seeing that the traveler, the guest, wants the experience. While we have hard branded properties, but we also have boutique and individual independents that have, I will say, maybe a little bit, they have more flair for the area. They have embraced their community that's within their area, and they're giving you that experience of experiencing that particular city or that particular maybe rural area that's there. If you stay, at a Hampton Inn in New York City, it's the same Hampton Inn as you're staying in Des Moines, Iowa. And now, to a certain degree, that's a very successful model, and it is extremely successful because it's predictability. The guest knows exactly what they're getting that's there. But when we look at like a lot of our places, there's that individual aspect of an independent hotel or a soft branded hotel. So we're seeing the market kind of adjust that way. We are seeing like our booking windows really get very, very short. We could go into a week and really have very little room revenue on the books at several places, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're at 80% occupancy, which is nice to see, but that's a little nerve wracking as well, because it's not very predictable as far as your revenue that's going in there. On the club side of things, clubs have had a great couple of years because of COVID.
Mhm.
There was a resurgence of the sport. Golf was the originally socially distanced sport out there. Clubs didn't shut down. People, and obviously the fact that people were able to work from home, work remote, had a really, at our clubs we had a lot of people that worked from the club. They brought their laptop on, and then they looked at their Google Calendar, and they realized that they had a 2-hour window, and boom, they're out there playing 9 holes, and taking the calls out there on the 11th hole or something like.
I'd be the same. We can't blame
Uh-huh.
them.
So we did had several in the private clubs, we had clubs that all of a sudden were able to charge initiation fees and have wait lists. In the public sector, we saw about a 20 to 25% bump on rounds that were being played. They've kind of curtailed back. They've kind of come back to reality ranch, but not nearly at the pre-COVID levels, meaning that it's come back a little, it's clawed back a little bit, but not nearly. When it started, when COVID started, it was definitely a lot less than where it is now. So there's a whole new introduction of players that are into the game, that are there, and then we're reaping some of those benefits across the properties.
Yeah, no. That sounds really interesting, and it's a great point. And I guess it might not be common knowledge, but it makes the most sense during COVID and the pandemic, how the resurgence of golf, the original social distancing
Yeah,
sport, as
it
you said.
was. Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense as well. You socialize, you spend the day in the sun, you spend a nice afternoon out or morning out, and you're able to spend it with your friends, but a reasonable distance. So that makes a lot of sense. And I imagine the trend not quite picking up from where it left off, it also makes sense as well. In terms of then key trends that we are hearing a lot, and everywhere you seem to look at, the buzzword comes up. Everywhere you seem to read all the articles, and that buzzword is AI. And obviously, with up to par management and Taylor Hospitality, you're very much a people orientated operations infrastructure, right? And so my question to you would be, how much is technology and AI being implemented in that kind of world, and is it even being leveraged? Is there an opportunity for leveraging? What's your opinion on that?
So, and this is interesting because the hotel space is light years ahead of clubs, and that has always been the case. So, with the various brands, whether it's Hilton, Wyndham, that we have Wyndham Properties, Choice Properties, Ascend Boutique Hotels. Within our booking platforms, we actually have AIs directly built into our forecasting model. So we're able to, this is where I think hotels and airlines are tremendously sophisticated on customer trends, customer buying, customer decisions that are there. So in particular, we're able, even if it's a small market, big market, we have defined who our competitors are. We know how many rooms are being sold in that particular market, and whether or not we are at our properties are getting our, like they always say, the fair share of the market going to your particular place. Or are you winning the day, or are you not winning the day? So those models are built out like almost to 90 degrees, and it's AI's gotten better. Still needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable how much that they are able to predict the demand of the customer coming to, say, like a Morgantown, West Virginia, or even some of the tertiary markets, like a rural town in West Virginia or Virginia or Maryland or North Carolina, that's there. And so we leverage that as much as possible. On the golf space, there's still clubs that take tee times with the old pen and paper, and they can't even spell AI. And that's something that we see quite a bit. For our company, we are very much a decentralized organization. So our entire network platform is on Google. And so we use Google to 100 degree. Obviously, Google rolled out Google Gemini, and that's there. We use that as much as we possibly can. And then to a certain degree, we're always looking to see how can we use it. What I personally found is, yes, it's there. You ask them if Gemini to write you an email it takes more thought to generate the prompts than actually to do the email itself.
So true.
So like, are you even wasting time doing the prompt? So it's not there just yet, but you can see it's not going to be long before it's doing certain things that's there. In the hotels, we're contemplating on getting a robot servers to do room service.
Oh, wow.
So which is really cool. There's so many cool products that are out there. There's cool products. Obviously, there's really a lot of cool products in I will say in golf course maintenance. Believe it or not, golf course maintenance is probably light years ahead of actually running the club as far as the technology that's out there. Yeah, it's very much cutting edge.
I think you've raised some really great points there, and I love the point you mentioned about the prompts.
Hmm.
Even when we use it in our own organization, with prompting is the key to AI, but it's so difficult to find the right prompt. And everyone says, oh, you have to train the AI and do this and that.
Yeah,
But it's so not. It's so frustrating that there's a job now for it, and it's a
yeah,
prompt engineer, right?
yeah,
So people actually hire people to do this because it is such a laborious task. But
yeah. I
hey
don't
ho,
have time. I don't have time to train
exactly.
AI. You know.
Let me just get it done.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. But this is the thing. We're so early stage in AI. I mean, AI, is it really AI or is it just massively data program that
Hmm.
actually just interprets things? It's just Google, but much faster or
Hmm.
something like that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we're a long way from where we it can be, but further than what we were a few years
Hmm.
ago, I think.
Ultimately, it's still businesses are run on people.
Exactly.
And you have to be able, and it's funny because my wife and I and our kids are home for the holidays from college, and we were listening to another podcast last night, Diary of CEO.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, he's a great, and he had on kind of a body language expert
I think I've seen
that
that.
was on
Yeah,
there,
the lady.
and it was good. And it was good. Ultimately, when you're operating a business, people are going to do business that you like. If you like that person, you know them, and then the tale all is whether or not you trust them. And if you have the trifecta of the three, that's a good foundation to get started and develop a long term relationship with.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more. And this is what I tell all our clients. It's especially in consulting, but all areas of business and all businesses, the two key points of gaining any business is to gain trust and build relationships. And when you can do those two things, then you have the opportunity to actually grow your business, right? And be able to increase that network and improve your opportunities. I guess specializing is more and more of something that is being told, that, like you mentioned it earlier, the riches are in the niches. That phrase is always touted, and even McKinsey themselves talk about how specialization is one of the optimal ways to grow fast over a short period of time. So in your opinion then, how important is specialization for boutique firms and growing your organization, and is there a room to specialize and then expand, or would you always say specialize and stick to your niche?
I kind of look at it. There's different stages of your company's growth. So with those various stages, first and foremost, like your startup stage, you're not specializing in anything. You know what I mean? You're specializing where the dollar is.
Yeah,
That's what you're specializing in. Like if that person needs something and they're willing to pay for it, you're going to figure out how to do it for them. And then I think you get to the point where you have some sort of predictive revenue model that's coming in, where then all of a sudden it's easy, it's better. You're making better decisions on what drives and what's profitable, what's not profitable, and at least that buys you that very early on stage buys you time to get to the next stage of saying, okay, do we want to kind of really want to shrink the umbrella a little bit? And when we shrink the umbrella a little bit, we can go in one area and that's there. And so you just have to be, always say you have to be open to seeing where things can evolve and the change, and then ultimately, are you able to be profitable in that area that's there? So, kind of a weird way to answer the question. I understand the premise of really specialization. Um, However, you have to get to that and it's all varies on like how much money that you have. Like how much cabbage have you planted over the course of your lifetime to get you to get to that point, and can you ride that for as long to get to the point of profitability? If you're bootstrapping it, you're just figuring out how to get from point A to point B to live to fight another day.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you keep on doing that and you pile a little bit of money away, a little capital away, then all of a sudden you can say, okay, what am I passionate about? What do I really want to do? What am I good at? What am I good at where I'm helping and I'm serving someone else, and they're actually willing to pay money for that. That's there. So, it's a evolution of being able to get to it. Yeah, that's easy for McKinsey to
Yeah.
say that. Who knows? Maybe McKinsey wishes that they didn't specialize in oxycodone. With their recent lawsuit, I
Yeah.
think they're have to pay like $780
Yes.
million
Yeah.
dollars. But
Outrageous, right?
maybe that's just a balance sheet item for them.
Yeah.
McKinsey can say something like that because they're, obviously they're dealing with top 100,
Mm-hmm.
top 100 firms that's there, and they are a top 100, top 5 consulting firm that's out there. So, interesting. I always take kind of what McKinsey says to a certain degree, a grain of salt.
Yeah.
That's there.
I absolutely love that, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the point you made there with what McKinsey say, what I always say is, especially at the early stage of an organization, it's cash is oxygen. Especially when that cash is life. Anything that can bring the cash in gives you another day to fight. And as you said, and that you can specialize all you want, but if someone comes in that's not in your specialization, and you're going to turn that business away, you're never going to turn that. Especially
Yeah.
at the early days, you're going to go, yes, I can figure that out, and
Yep.
you'll take that. You'll take the
Yeah.
opportunity. Yes, as you grow and as you become a larger organization, you might go, okay, I don't want to deal with certain types of
Yep.
companies and certain types of organizations. I want to, private equity is lovely to work with because they pay the most. Fine, like that's absolutely fine. But it does depend on where you are in your business journey. So I love the nuance you answered with that. In terms of then having, so again, and I want to touch on McKinsey as well again, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it. McKinsey believe in transforming organizations with lean management, right? With a culture of continuous improvement, developing new leadership approaches and, or I guess, leadership behaviors. How important do you think it is to actually have a lean management approach when you're running an organization versus having a more robust team that actually can handle what is needed?
So, this is kind of a little backstory. This is a kind of funny anecdotal story.
Yes,
So, the author of the McKinsey Way. I don't know if you've ever seen the book.
I've seen it. I haven't read it yet. No.
Okay, the McKinsey Way. His name's Ethan Razio.
Okay.
So, actually, I used to give Ethan golf lessons.
Oh,
And
wow.
and when Ethan he worked for a couple of years for McKinsey, and then essentially, you know what, he had enough of McKinsey,
Yeah.
and then so he decided to write a book about the McKinsey way. So I gave Ethan golf lessons for about 5-6 years while we were there at Duke University,
Yeah.
and while he was writing it. And we had great conversations about the McKinsey way, and I will say probably none of those conversations that we had made it into his book. So really pretty funny that was there. I guess I got the unabridged version of the McKinsey way. Maybe that's the McKinsey way that's being held accountable for the lawsuit
Yeah.
that's there. So really funny. Ironically, it's funny you say you bring up lean management, and within our company, we absolutely embrace lean management to the nth of degree. We embrace the fact that it's where you are right now. It's not where you're going to be 3 months from now, let alone 6 months from now. And are you going to make these massive jumps? And you're not, because that's just growth and better performance are never linear. It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and when you start a business, it's usually 10 steps forward, 30 steps back, going back and forth. But we really do, we train all of our general managers on lean management and Six Sigma. We require all of our management team to be at least become white belt certified so that they can understand and get to like root causes of problems and understand why those root causes are and how they could avoid that with proper process implementation. That we teach lean management like every quarter. We're giving a lean management tour. I've had actually lean management experts come in and do training for our teams when it's regarded that, because there's a lot of lean management and service. The service industry is like one and the same.
Yeah.
That's there because everything that we're doing on the service side of things or running or operating someone else's business is a process.
Yeah.
And is that process efficient? Is there waste that's in it? Is there value add that's in that particular process, or is non-value add that's there? And how you run a kitchen is all, I mean, you got waste of production, waste of movement, waste of time, waste of talent. It's like everything is in that little microclimate of running a kitchen is all about Tim T. Wood, the 8 ways of waste that are there. So we really believe in it, and maybe if there's something, if McKinsey is running it, that model, we didn't realize that McKinsey was running it, that model. We just knew that we need to kind of consistently improve our property's performance versus the last time frame. So that's why we're always constantly, it's like a golf ball rolling. It's just constantly rolling, and we're failing forward and moving forward, and we're learning from what their mistakes. And I will say there's the hedge fund guy who wrote Principles. He's got a great graph. Yeah, he's got a great graph. It's like you learn, you fall, all of a sudden, boom, and then and then it moves back up. And then you figure out like where you made your mistake. You look at the process, the root cause of that process. You ask the 5 whys of why you got to that point. You figure out the process. That's your fire extinguisher to put out the fire, and then all of a sudden you move on up and you continue to grow. That's why it is important. It is important to get I always say to our teammates, to our teams, it's okay to make mistakes. You got to learn from those mistakes so you don't rear those ugly heads. If you make 2 mistakes in the same thing, and then we're talking. Like, what is going on? Why do you need to get kicked in the face twice for this to hurt?
Yeah.
And so, that's how you continually to grow and get better throughout. And it's like, I will say it's very similar to sports and life. If you're making a golf change, it takes forever to move your hands from here to here, and it feels like your hands are way over here that are there, or trying to run or lift. It's amazing how your best bench, when you're lifting, takes you 6 months to get another 5 pounds, to do it. So you're continually improving to be able to get that.
And I think that's a great point, and it reminds me of the term marginal gains, right? And it's that 1% better each time. And that sometimes that 1% doesn't feel like anything is happening, but if you look at that 1% at the start of the year versus the end of the year, you'll see that you've grown 365%, right, over the period of time. And that's where the growth happens in between it. Whether it's in your management, whether it's in your systems, whether it's in the way you are a leader, whatever it might be, those little improvements make a massive difference. So I think that's a great point there. The next question I really wanted to ask you about was, I guess, recruitment is one of the hardest things in business, right? With a team of over 600, of around 650, I think you mentioned. I'm sure you've made your many mistakes along the way, and recruitment. And I always say this, and I think Stephen Bartlett even says this: as a business owner, as someone who runs a business, your number one priority is to hire. You're a recruitment business before anything else, right? Hire the right people and to be able to fulfill something. So, in terms of for boutique firms, what should the approach to recruiting be? What is your approach to recruiting? Are you rigorous with your hiring process, or are you a hire quick, fire quick kind of approach?
I think, and it's funny because we just did our annual offsite earlier this past week, Monday, Tuesday, which was great. Really, we boiled down to like four buckets, for our company. One, and the top bucket was leadership, like making sure that we are hiring the right general managers to operate our facilities. And it'd be like in the NFL or even soccer, hiring the right coach, making sure that coach is kind of setting the tone that's there. I will say recruitment, and then the next thing was hiring and recruitment process, and then underneath that it was processes and making sure that they're efficient. That's there. Recruitment never stops. Networking never stops. I am constantly networking within our areas, within our team, or either it's online, offline conferences, and you're always looking for great talent that's there. Our best way of recruitment is for us to be able to promote people that have bought into our culture right out of the get-go and embraced our company, and then be able to move people up within. However, sometimes there's a ceiling on someone's maybe level of where they can go, and then they have to be successful in that particular role to be able to take that next step, and willing to take that next step, and have the want to and the learn to be able to take that next step of maybe leadership and growth. That's there. So we always do look from within, kind of within the team, to see if we have somebody that's within our leadership pipeline that we can move into a role where there's greater responsibility, greater compensation, greater business acumen that's maybe needed for that position to operate effectively and efficiently. It's there. And if there's not, hopefully we have talked to enough people over the course of really just straight networking. I mean, we have job ads out all the time. We do the same thing. We put the jobs out and we see them. And that interview, like for today, I have 4 interviews today. And that's not unusual. Every day I'm trying to interviewing people. And I'm interviewing people maybe that we don't even have positions for.
Wow.
Just yet, because I want to make sure I develop that relationship with that person, so when we do have those interviews, when we have those positions available, and someone did make we clicked, we got in, they understood where we stand, and they understood our organization, they understood our core values and why we started the company. That's there. And so if they understand that, then it's easier for me to reach back out to them to bring them into the fold.
Yeah.
That's there. And we charge our whole senior team to be able to do the same exact thing. So I have a senior team of 7 that are with us, and so they're constantly, whether it's accounting, marketing, operations, revenue, they're all, golf operations, they're all, out there really trying to get their name out there as much as they can to be able to talk to as many people as it possibly can.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And I think, and this is my opinion on recruiting as well, recruiting needs to be looked at in a very similar way to marketing, right? In the sense that, like you're bringing in business, you're also bringing in talent, right? And so it's so important to be able to, you're going out to win business and you're doing your network, but you also have to apply the same lessons to bringing in the right people and consistently going out there and looking for the right people. So and once you got them in, have they bought in? Have they bought into you? Have they bought into the company and the organization and the culture? So 100%, really interesting to hear. This segment of of our podcast, it's a short segment, and this segment we like to call it's more about entrepreneurship. And so the first question I want to ask you in this section is, how are you currently spending your days as a leader of your business?
Wow, good question. It's anywhere from, I wish I was spending more time on the business than in the business. That's there. That is for us, for our company. That's actually, we're starting to move in. That's a good way for us to do that. I will say I probably spend my best and highest use value of my time is developing our relationships with our investors, with our equity partners, with our financial institutions, and then vetting out real estate, hotel acquisition projects that we would be participating in with, and then really spending time on the that business development side of things, being able to grow the be able to grow the business when it comes to that. There are still times where I'm spending like yesterday. We have a club, massive club, 4,000 homes. Oh my gosh, big club that's in Virginia. And yesterday, spent the morning, 2-hour drive. Spent the morning in a 2-hour board of directors meeting that was there. And granted, our team members were there, but I was there too, really kind of hearing from the client's perspective how well our team was doing. So very much client facing time spent that's there. And then, like I said, we just finished up our annual planning session, and I facilitated that amongst our senior team, so we have a good strategy and strategy on a page, and we set our objectives and what our key results are going to be for 2025. So I spend a lot of time kind of doing that strategically, and that's there. And then sometimes it's just simple as when you look at when you're paying 650 team members, payroll is a big process. So there's that. Payroll, I'm always making sure that our team members are being paid appropriately for all the hard work that they are doing and executing on.
No, absolutely. That's a huge responsibility in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And it's not for the faint-hearted, I'm sure.
No, it's not.
I can imagine.
No, it's not. Some of those cortisol levels go through the roof. Okay.
And it all weighs on your shoulders, right? And
Yeah.
that buck ends with you, and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for everyone, and that's why you're able to do what you're able to do. But 100%, that can't be easy, but it is admirable to say the least. Following on from that, as the leader of the business, and obviously you mentioned payroll and things like that, but what are the most important metrics for you in the organization when you're running the organization? What do you look at? Whether it's new prospects and conversations with them, or is it more about your existing clients? What are you looking at via metrics?
So we have a balanced scorecard that we operate from. We have 4 main strategic objectives. One is great financial health, great financial company health, and that's the nuts and bolts. How much did we, yes or no, and this is where we run in this OKR model. Here's our objectives, here's key results, kind of like John Doerr, what he puts out there, and they're all yes or no questions. Did we beat our NOI budget or not? Did we beat our revenue targets or not? And then there's some simple metrics like how much do we have in accounts payable. These are all like accounts receivable. Who owes us? Who do we owe? How much debt, short-term, long-term debt do we currently have? That's there. So that's one objective. The second objective is really sales and marketing that works, and we measure those objectives. That's solely on the revenue side of things. How many leads are coming in through the pipeline, and then what's the conversion rate of those leads into from a prospect into a lead into a contract and so forth. So we measure those, and then the third metric is client retention. Mm-hmm. It's a operational excellence metric, and that's client retention. And within that client retention, we take all of our clients that we have, and we have a scorecard within those clients. We've identified 13 different key elements of retaining our clients and performing at our certain levels of performance. And we know that if we fall below an 80% on that client retention score, really what we all of a sudden we institute what's called DOPE. Okay. It's our Department of Property Efficiency. We send a team that's there to that client, and they're all senior team members, to that client to get that client to start performing better. Okay, that property to start to perform better. That client retention scores screams lean management, because it's through the eyes, it's through the lens of the customer, not through us. we can think that we're doing a great job, but if the customer thinks that we're doing a lousy job, we're doing a lousy job, to be honest, you know. And so we have to find out, okay, what are the expectations? Where are we missing those expectations? Where are we exceeding those expectations, so forth. So that's the third. It's the operational OE, what we call it. That's our third objective. The fourth objective, and really it's called live the brand. That's our fourth main objective. And we're big believers in team member engagement. And we've been tracking this for the last 7 years now, is our Gallup Q12 scores that are there, that breaks it down into the 12 factors of team member engagement. And we take every property, every team member, and we break it down in there. And I love seeing some of these Instagram reels when they say that you're filling out an anonymous team member survey. Reality is we do it 100% anonymous. We have no idea who's doing what. We just know which property that they're working from, and it gives us a really good, that's good information. Because when we do see our team members really engaged at that property, ironically, the other stuff happens really, really well. The place is performing very well experientially. We're delivering on experiences. And then ultimately, since we're delivering on that, we're delivering financially. We're hitting our targeted financial goals. And then the client is really happy and we're happy. It gives you an idea of, like, those are all within the crosshairs of how we look at running and operating our business.
I absolutely love that, Sean, and I think that the mark of a successful business is having clear, defined metrics that you're constantly measuring, right? And for anyone listening that might be early on in their stage in growing their business, or maybe not at the size that you are in terms of employees and things like that, knowing your metrics is half the battle, right? Because once you know, it's that thing of knowing your problem allows you to actually solve that problem. And so if you can track something happening before it happens, you give yourself the best possible chance.
And it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, of course.
My goodness, it took us years to get to that point.
Yeah.
It took us, I mean, it took us such a long time to even understand that and understand how we can scale and grow with that. Initially our first metric was how much cash do you have in the bank? So, and how far is that cash going to get you?
Yeah.
So,
what's the runway looking like? Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. I've got a couple more questions for you, Sean, and then we'll be done today. But the question I want to ask you now is, you've been in business for many, many years now, since the financial crash of 2008, 2009. What have you tried before and what didn't work? What are your biggest lessons? And I'm sure you can reel off a million in one, but what's the top two, I would say?
Well, I'll say maybe some advice. Always be very cautious of who you get in bed with. If you're taking on a legal partner that's there, you're married to that person. You're married to all of their great attributes, but you're also married to a lot of their flaws, character flaws, and things like that. I will say, that is something always really to make sure you do your homework when it comes to that. The second thing is always know your numbers. Know your numbers inside and out. Know your numbers better than anybody else can know your numbers that are there. That are there. And if you don't understand accounting and you don't understand, can't be a great leader not knowing the financial side of your business. So the accounting aspect of it, you got to know. Even if you're not a numbers person, you got to know how everything fits together. You could be a great creative visionary and things like that, like Richard Branson. But I guarantee that Richard Branson can read a financial statement like there's nobody's business, And so that is one thing with it. We've tried things and we've failed with them. We actually launched, believe it or not, I can remember we launched a hospitality recruitment company within our company in December of 2018. So figure that one out. COVID hits like a month later, and we're and so that was like the worst time for us to be able to do that. We pivoted really quick. Try to. I will say it's okay to make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, make sure that you learn from those mistakes so they don't rear their ugly head that's there. Trust and verify. We had a payroll company. This was probably a big mistake that we made in our company situation. We had a payroll company very, very early on in our company that said that they had they were contracted to file all of our tax, 9 payroll taxes. They wound up not filing them, but ultimately we were the ones who were responsible for them. So trust but verify. You get through those gut wrenching time frames that are there, and we did the right things, and we moved on, and we always do the right things. And the last thing is always do the right thing. Always, always, always do the right thing. You may be expensive, but always do the right thing because you'll sleep a whole lot better at night. So.
I absolutely love those. They're absolutely fantastic lessons, and I think very much if you take those lessons on board, you can really live a fulfilled and purposeful life, and making sure you are constantly growing. Last question, and I like to end every podcast with this question: if you had a magic wand to solve one business problem, what would that business problem?
Great question. Great question. Our purpose is to positively impact others and to be able to do things in a really positive way. And I will say it kills me when people don't they look at their job as a job, not a career. They maybe look at it very narrowly and not understand like their position and how influential every position is, every career position is, and how they can be such a force of good and have such a positive impact on their coworkers, their teammates, their people that they get the opportunity to serve. You go into any kitchen in America and you ask the executive chef, what's your most important position? And they're all going to say the same thing. It's the dishwasher. It is absolutely the dishwasher. You're going to go to every general manager of every hotel and say, what's your most important? It's the housekeeper. It's those positions, because they are so incredibly important to the overall operations, but they can really make or break that's there. And I will say we love when we see the growth of people of our team. Like I can remember we have a great Ricky. I'm going to tell you the Ricky story. Ricky started off with us. He started off in the dish pit, straight out of high school. He barely got his high school degree. Didn't know what he wanted to do in life. Started in dish pit, and he worked in that dish pit for a year. Done dishes for a 300-person banquet wedding. That's a lot of dishes. Yeah. So Ricky worked with us, and our executive chef that was there at the time brought him in underneath his wing. And eventually Ricky started, doing prep, chopping vegetables, peeling potatoes, doing things like that. And Ricky started to like that. And next thing you know, he did that for several months. And next thing you know, we put Ricky over on the cold side, which is the salads and things along, cold appetizers that's there. And so we have that, and then he stayed there for a little bit, and then he moved over to the fry station, and Ricky worked for 6-8 months and months, and then he moved over to the saute, and then he started doing banquets, and then he became the the lead line cook, and then he became the sous chef. Now Ricky's one of our executive chefs.
Wow.
That's there. So you see that progression. And all throughout that, even though he didn't know which direction where he was starting with, Ricky had an unbelievable attitude, and he looked at what he was doing. And he loves, going out into the restaurant and seeing people eat his food.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like, what's the one business problem that you can solve is, man, I would love for people to see the potential and what they bring into their existing role, and how they can be such a force of positivity, not only for them, but for their families and for themselves.
I love that. Absolutely love that. That says a lot as well, in the sense that by adding that Ricky story, you get to see what if someone with the right attitude and mindset can go and do and achieve just by doing that, and everyone is able to do that. Whichever role you take, if you put 110% in every single day, there's no reason why you can't be another Ricky.
Right.
And I absolutely love that, Sean. Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure today. I really
Great.
appreciate your time. It's been a fantastic podcast and some phenomenal insights you've been able to share with us. So I
Great.
really appreciate you sharing today.
All right. Well, glad that you invited me on here today.
No, I appreciate it, and
All right.
have a great rest of the day. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.